Welcome back to the channel. 2020 is coming to a close, so it's about time for bottom of the year list and tops of movies of the year list. Today we're talking bottom 5. We're going to kick things off with number 5 being The Nest. Now, The Nest stars Carrie Coon and Jude Law as a family that moves from the United States to an English country manor for a new job. And when they move into this house, it starts to change their lives and their world kind of starts to fall apart. Now, the reason this movie is on this list is because it is the most dull, boring movie I saw this year. That is the cardinal sin of a bad movie. It was boring. I fell asleep multiple times during this movie. That is why it makes my bottom 5 of the year. Moving on to number 4. Number 4 is going to be Guns Akimbo, starring Daniel Radcliffe and Samara Weaving. I was looking forward to this movie. It seemed like it'd be a fun, stylish movie. It's better known as the movie with Daniel Radcliffe running around with guns strapped to his hand, a robe, and fuzzy slippers. Now, this movie was just a little too hectic for me. It is very in your face, and it's as if the director drank a ton of Red Bulls and just ran around and just went crazy. This movie was just far too ADHD for me. It was just a little too in your face, and it just didn't work. It's just too wacky. Moving on to number 3. Number 3 is going to be Freaky. Now, Freaky was something I was looking forward to. I'm a fan of the director's movie, Happy Death Day. And I thought we were going to get something similar to that, mixing up the horror and the comedy genres together, but this time, instead of the time loop, we went with the body swapping. This movie didn't work for me. I didn't think it was funny. I thought the dialogue was terrible. The script was awful. Performances were just super cheesy. And I thought Vince Vaughn would work. He's playing the teenage girl swapped into his body, and he's running around, like Jack Black in the Jumanji movies. Didn't work as well in this movie. I felt like he was playing a completely different character, and it just ended up being really awkward and not enjoyable for me. So yeah, that's why Freaky is on this list. Moving on to number 2. Number 2 is going to be just a colossal disappointment for me. That is why it is on this list. It is the cursed comic book movie that no one ever thought would see the light of day. That being Josh Boone's The New Mutants. Now, I was really looking forward to this movie, 3-4 years ago when it was going to come out. Taking the comic book genre and mixing it with the horror genre is something I've always been interested in seeing done correctly. I've yet to see it done correctly, especially with this movie. None of it was scary. The acting was terrible. Characters are unlikable. It's not a good-looking movie. The visuals are bad. None of it worked for me. You had such a good cast. You have Anya Taylor-Joy, Maisie Williams. This thing could have just been so good. None of it works. None of it works at all. I usually try to find redeemable things in movies I typically don't even like. And with this one, I would just say the screen presence of Anya Taylor-Joy was the best thing about it. Her character, I did not like her character, but her screen presence. Because taking the character of Magic and putting her on a screen, I think you couldn't have picked anybody better than Anya Taylor-Joy. The character itself is just really unlikable, so it just didn't work. Now, moving on to number 1, the worst movie of the year. Not necessarily the worst, but the biggest disappointment for me is going to be Disney's live-action remake of Mulan. Mulan being one of my favorite Disney animated classics, and this movie just spits all over that movie. This movie was just terrible. I have a full review of it on the channel if you want to check it out, so I don't want to get too much into it. The only redeemable thing in this movie is the cinematography. Colors are nice. It looks good on big screen, 4K. But everything else is just so bad and just a disgrace to the original movie. That is it. That is my top 5, bottom 5 worst movies I watched in 2020. Let me know what you think of this list, if you agree with it, if you disagree with it. Get in that comment section. Let's discuss the worst movies of the year. Let me know your bottom 5 or your number 1, your worst movie of the year. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Coming soon will be the top 10, my best movies of the year. Look forward to that. See you guys.